no sleep, no money, no peace. All I know is suffering. Hi besties, welcome. I hope you're doing well. The fact that I'm filming this right now is quite literally insane because in an hour I have to leave for a vacation I have not packed for. But this is vital. But it's so important to me. It's 3:42 on October 21st, which means Taylor Swift released Midnights less than 24 hours ago. So my life is different now. I have done videos on my channel before where I've recommended you books based on your favorite albums. For Midnights, we're breaking it down. We're doing song by song book recommendations because I am full of pain and suffering because of this woman. This is America's Most Wanted. Are you absolutely kidding me? Literally any other artist that I love releases new music and I'm like, I can throw out my antidepressants. And when Taylor releases new music, I am like, I need to up my fucking dosage. She is sick. She pours diesel on the mental illness of millions and then sets it alight with her silly little lighter. I cannot stop consuming it at a rate that is so sickening and ungodly. But this is a book channel, so I'm going to give you a book that correlates with every track on Midnight's 3 a.m. edition. That's right, I'm doing the deluxe tracks too. I can't leave Erin out of this, but I literally don't have time, so I have to do this like rapid fire so fast. But just off the rip, initial book pairings, let's go. Track 1, Lavender Haze. This one I am so confident about. It's A Room with a View by E.M. Forrester. Lavender Haze is a song all about that hazy, all-consuming infatuation you experience at the beginning of your love. And it's also about like rumors flying and having to dodge rumors about your relationship. A Room with a View is all about this woman's relationship with this man who is not the man that she is supposed to marry and how she's falling in love with him and she can't stop thinking about him. And there's literally a scene where they kiss in a lavender field. So don't even get me started on that. They have to fight sort of the social perceptions of themselves because their relationship is like not considered proper and she is trying to be a self-actualized woman in a time where that's difficult to do. And like they go like this. The language in A Room with a View is so beautiful and it's like kind of reminiscent of the way that Taylor Swift writes. The imagery, everything about it is just so lyrical and it feels like Taylor, and I think if she read this book, she would love it. Track 2, Maroon. Maroon is a color. It's a color, okay? Similar to burgundy wine, maroon, okay? We're thinking maroon harkens back to red earlier on in her career, and people are thinking maroon is a more mature version of the same sort of messaging Red had because we're further on in her career. People are thinking it's gonna represent her growth. And people were right. But it's also a song about falling in love and losing the person that you love. And I'm going to recommend Bluettes by Maggie Nelson, which is this weird book of like vignettes that kind of read like poems / scenes. And it's all about Maggie Nelson's breakup with a man that she was deeply, deeply in love with. And it's all told through facts, stories, etc. about the color blue. So it's all about the color blue and how that color was so representative to her of this man and of their breakup and how it just keeps coming back to her in her life. Both of these two writers are like looking at a specific situation, a breakup, losing someone you love, through the lens of a color. That's such a specific and unique like way to look at a situation that these two just had to go together. Okay, next, track 3, Antihero. So good, so good. One of my faves. Easy Money. This was one of the first ones I thought of. Play It As It Lays by Joan Didion. Recently read it. I can't shut up about it on my channel, so if you've been here for a while, you've heard me talk about it. But we follow our main character, Mariah, who's just so in her head, has such obsessive, intrusive thoughts. There's literally a paragraph where she's like, I don't know where my mind ends and my body begins. She is her own worst critic, but she's also surrounded by all these people who don't really help her garner a healthy relationship with self. And so it's just all about being trapped in your own mind, feeling like you are the problem, a la anti-hero. And Mariah sort of is an anti-hero in that she just like, you're rooting for her 100%, but she's also like, she sucks in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? And all the people around her suck, and it's just like talking all about the shallowness of Hollywood and how Mariah just like can't stand it, but she also can't get away from it. The tone of the song, it's poppy, it's fun, it's super catchy. The lyrics are like, seek help. And with Play It As It Lays, it's like a hot summer in LA, in Hollywood, and there's drugs and there's sex, but it's like, for real, seek help, you know what I mean? Next track, Snow on the Beach, featuring Lana Del Rey, maybe? And for this one, I'm going with the book Brooklyn. Brooklyn is just a like love story of a first love of this Irish immigrant moving to New York from Ireland who meets an Italian immigrant in New York, and they sort of fall in love, and they're dealing with the fact that they're falling in love, but she's away from her family and she's feeling homesick. There's just a lot going on, and it feels to her sort of surreal, and Snow on the Beach to me feels very surreal. And the whole idea of like the line like, it's weird but fucking beautiful. This relationship to her is like sort of strange, and it's difficult for her because she's missing back home and she's like trying to make her way in a new country that she's not familiar with. But this relationship is also super beautiful. It just feels to me like that first love feeling where it's like really lovely and wonderful and beautiful, but I'm nervous about it. Seems like it could be taken away. It seems impossible, which is one of the lines in Snow on the Beach. Those two seem to fit together for me. They also go to a beach in the book. It doesn't snow, it's the middle of summer in New York, but they go to Coney Island, which is another Taylor Swift song. You guys, next, track 5, You're on Your Own Kid. That song is ruining my life. And I keep seeing rankings on TikTok of people ranking it so low. Justice for You're on Your Own Kid. Justice. My recommendation for You're on Your Own Kid is Real Life by Brandon Taylor. This book is nothing but pain. Like, so many trigger warnings. For all of these books, look up trigger warnings. Basically, we're following our main character who is in grad school but is having a really rough time because of some past trauma, because his friends suck. He's the only Black person in his lab at grad school, and he's just feeling so incredibly isolated even though he's constantly around other people. Real Life to me feels full of a lot of yearning, but really like painful yearning, and that's sort of how You're on Your Own Kid feels to me too. And this idea that at the end of the day, you can't wait for other people to love you, and you can't wait for other people to make your life worth living. At the end of the day, you're on your own kid. You got to do that for yourself. Real Life to me feels like that in the way that that's like an incredibly difficult thing to wrap your head around. It's very painful, and that book is just so painful and sad. There's also something comforting in that because then you can like sort of take control instead of waiting for other people. The lyrics in You're on Your Own Kid, the jokes weren't funny. I took the money. My friends from home don't know what to say. I looked around in a blood-soaked gown and I saw something they can't take away because there were pages turned with the bridges burned. Everything you lose is a step you take. Feels so much like real life to me. Next, Midnight Rain. I'm gonna give you Exciting Times by Anisha Dolan as a recommendation because to me, Midnight Rain, it's about a relationship with two people who deeply care about each other but who want very different things and who like kind of can't just extricate themselves from each other even though it would be better for them to do that, is what the song sounds like to me. Our main character goes to Hong Kong to teach English. She starts dating this guy who's like a businessman in Hong Kong. Their relationship is like super unhealthy and just really weird, and their communication is all over the place, and it's sort of one of those things where she tells him that she wants something that she doesn't really want. Then she meets a woman named Edith, and Edith is like wonderful. She has to sort of decide between these two things, one of which is like sort of not healthy, but she has a hard time peeling herself away from this man and this woman who challenges her and is more of like a healthy option, or like she's the one you're rooting for when you read the book, but it's not an easy choice. And so there's like these two kind of polar opposite things, and she's having to decide what she wants and whether these people are worth sacrificing that or not. Like, you wanted a wife, I was making my own name. Like, we just are in two different points in our life. I don't know, makes sense in my head. It makes sense in my head. Next question, do I even need to say it? Do I even need to say it? Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is so Normal People by Sally Rooney. It's actually unreal. Like, I once again think that she wrote this about those two characters. If you don't know, Normal People is about Marianne and Connell, who know each other in high school, and they have sort of a secret relationship because Connell is embarrassed to be with Marianne, and Marianne has a lot of self-loathing that she needs to work through. And then when they go to college together, the roles sort of flip because Marianne is super popular and Connell is not, and Connell is dealing with a lot of like depression, insecurity, anxiety, and Marianne deals with a lot of self-loathing and stuff like that. They just sort of keep coming back to each other, and the book is all about how people can change us. Good girl, sad boy, big city, wrong choices. We had one thing going on. I swear that it was something, because I don't remember who I was before you painted all my nights, a color I've searched for since. But one thing after another, fucking situations, circumstances, miscommunications. And I have to say, by the way, I just made like some explanations. Like, that is Connell and Marianne to a T. She was on your mind with some dickhead guy that you saw that night, but you were on something. It was one drink after another. Fucking politics and gender roles. Marianne and Connell talk about politics and gender roles constantly throughout the book. Did you ever kiss someone in a crowded room? They literally do at the party. They kiss each other in a crowded room, and they're like so conscious of what the other people around them are thinking of them, which reminds me of the whole like, and your friends were laughing, but then 15 seconds later they were clapping too. It was written for them, and it was written for those of us who love them. We won. Next, vigilante shit. If I were Scooter Braun, I would be absolutely pissing my pants. Like, that man should be scared. If he does not already have the fucking SWAT team securing his house, he should. Vigilante shit. They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is a psychological thriller about a professor on campus at a New England university who like moonlights as a vigilante basically by killing all the men on campus who have raped women on campus. Professors, students, she gets rid of them. She murders them. This one is so perfect. Like, it's literally a book about murdering men, and vigilante shit is the most kill men energy song I've ever heard in my life. But the book also follows another character who's a student at the university dealing with some trauma around sexual assault. And so you also see sort of like a victim's side of it, and then you see like the vigilante side, and you are in the head of this woman who's murdering all these men, and it's like, she's crazy, but Taylor Swift is crazier. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was so cool. The narration is so great, and it is the epitome of this song. Next, Bejeweled. I think I recommend this book in every recommendations video I make. Slow Days, Fast Company by Eve Babbitt. Bejeweled is all about like somebody fucking you over, but you still shine. You still go out and you still light up a room, and people are still asking you if you're single, and I can still say, I can't remember. Eve Babbitt's book, Slow Days, Fast Company, is a fictionalized account of her time in LA in the 60s when she was dating lots of different men, and how all of those men like shaped or affected her. But sort of the through line of the whole book is that like, she's still a bad bitch. If there's one thing she's gonna do, it's be a baddie. A men be damned, for fucking real. The book is funny and upbeat, but it has these undertones of sort of loneliness, sadness. It also talks a lot about sense of place in terms of LA being where Eve Babbitt spent most of her time. This one makes so much sense to me. Men can shit on me, men can fuck me over, and I'm just gonna go out and find another fucking man. Try me. Next, Labyrinth. I'm recommending Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Labyrinth is all about falling in love, but also sort of being stuck in the labyrinth of your own mind. Turtles All the Way Down is about falling in love, but also being stuck in the labyrinth of your own mind. Our main character in Turtles All the Way Down has OCD. She is grappling with this mental illness, learning how to live, learning how to be in a relationship, while also dealing with her own intrusive thoughts, thought spirals. And as a person with OCD, it's the first time I've ever felt truly represented in anything I've ever read or seen. And I'm not saying that Labyrinth is necessarily about OCD, but the idea of feeling so trapped in your head that it's hard to get over, even when you're falling in love, you're still up here to some extent, or you're up here about falling in love and then you're overthinking falling in love. There's like a lot of hope, but there is still this like gnawing thing in your head that you can't escape. Also, John Green tweeted that he loved Midnights, so he's a Swiftie confirmed. Karma. I'm recommending Circe by Madeline Miller, because if there's one thing Circe is gonna do, it is get revenge. Circe works hard, but karma works fucking harder, let me tell you. Circe is a retelling of the Greek myth about Circe, who's like a nymph, and she turns men into pigs is sort of like her big claim to fame. That's Karma if I've ever heard it. It's so good. It's so beautifully written. I mean, Karma's sort of poppy and also like a sweet song, which I wasn't necessarily expecting from it. But I think Circe is that too. At the end of the day, it's about karma, both the good karma and the bad karma. And Circe gets what's coming to her, and she makes sure the men do too. Sweet Nothing. Sweet Nothing. Okay. This song is like throwing me into the ringer because I've seen very different opinions about like what the song means and is about online, and I'm like, I don't know. But I tend to think it's sort of a sweet song and sort of like a sister song to Peace off of Folklore. In that song she's saying, would it be enough if I could never give you peace? And in this song she's saying, it's so lovely because all you wanted from me was sweet nothing. You didn't want anything from me. We just want to be together, which I think is so lovely. And so that's why I'm recommending Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which is just like the OG romance, the OG enemies to lovers, but it's just so wonderful. And it reminds me of this song because Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice just assumes that Mr. Darcy wants all of these things from her, or like doesn't want anything to do with her, and really all he wants from her is her companionship. He doesn't want her to change herself, when in actuality all Darcy wants from her is nothing but like sweetness and love. And that is so sweet. Okay, Mastermind, last song on the official 13 tracks of the album. For Mastermind, I am going to recommend I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This song is all about planning out a romance because you can't count on another person to put it into action for you. That's not exactly what I'll Give You the Sun is about, but I think Jandy Nelson is a mastermind when crafting it because she leaves you all these Easter eggs along a trail and they all come together at the end in a way that's just so satisfying, and it wraps up so nicely. But there's also this messaging in I'll Give You the Sun about people being fated to be in your story and being determined to keep people in your circles and realms and things like that. And I think Mastermind feels a little bit like that too. I don't know if that makes sense. But if you don't know what I'll Give You the Sun is about, we're following two twins, Jude and Noah. But when we're following Jude, we are 3 years ahead of when we're following Noah. And we alternate, so we sort of piece everything together as we go along. It's a beautiful book about making art and falling in love and grief and just a million different things. The Great War, first of the 3 a.m. tracks. For this one, I'm going to recommend Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. Hold on. I feel like I'm losing you. I can feel it. I'm losing you. Bear with me, okay? Slaughterhouse 5 is a story about Billy Pilgrim, who is unstuck in time because he is suffering PTSD from fighting in the Battle of Dresden during World War II. I know the Great War is about the First World War, but just, okay, hold on. He is experiencing both memories and flashbacks of his time at war while also thinking he's like on an alien planet, while also experiencing his real life with his family and friends in the present. And you go back and forth through all of these things, and you're sort of like taken on this crazy journey through all of these different points of his life, and it can be very confusing at times, but ultimately it's about his trauma from the war. And the reason I'm pairing it with The Great War, which is a song about like a relationship and holding on to somebody through turbulent times, is because I'm imagining it more of Billy Pilgrim holding on to hope, because the book is all about hope and how we have no choice but to stay hopeful through the worst of it, because if we don't, we've already lost. And so in my mind, this pairing is like if Billy Pilgrim is the narrator and he's talking about holding on to hope through the Great War, through the turbulent times, through all of the shooting and the bloodshed and everything like that. He had to hold on to hope, and that's the only thing that saves him in the end. Bigger Than the Whole Sky. Yeah, that's gonna have to be the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, because the Song of Achilles is an incredibly beautiful love story that made me sob like a baby, in which the love is so all-consuming and so massive that the line "you were bigger than the whole sky" sounded to me like it could have been pulled from that book. Like if you had told me that it was in that book and Taylor Swift read that book and was like, oh, I like that line, I would believe you. It's so akin to the way that our main character in the Song of Achilles talks about Achilles as just this sort of like untouchable, unattainable, but somehow still his person. And then if you've read the book, you'll know why the goodbye, 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 you were bigger than the whole sky feels apt. Then we have Paris. Paris is a pop fun time about leaving all of your troubles behind you and focusing on the present when you are in Paris with the person that you love and you're just having a good time. And that, my friends, is why I'm recommending you Heartstopper by Alice Oseman, because in one of the Heartstopper sequels, they go to Paris on a school field trip and they just get to be gay and in love and happy in Paris for a book. And that is how that song feels to me. If you don't already know about Heartstopper, Heartstopper is a super famous graphic novel, got turned into a Netflix series series last year, and we follow Charlie, who is out and gay at his school, and Nick, who is discovering about himself that he's a bisexual, and their young love and budding romance and their found family of all their friends around them. I literally listened to the song and I was like, oh my god, it's like Nick and Charlie when they go to Paris. So that's my pairing. Okay, high infidelity, get ready. It's The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. If you want to hear me rant about The Great Gatsby and everything that I think it means and how much I love it, I did that recently in a video. High Infidelity is about The Great Gatsby because it's all about how one of the easiest ways to kill the people that you love is to not love them enough. And Gatsby is all about how Daisy never loved Gatsby enough. But there's also this whole other thing in High Infidelity about how the woman in question is like charting constellations in his eyes and how she's fallen in love with another man who's brought her back to life, and Gatsby has to pine, has to watch Daisy be in love with Tom Buchanan, or at least be with Tom Buchanan, and this feeling of infidelity. Oh my gosh, it just feels so similar to this song for me. The song Glitch. Glitch is a Friends to Lovers song, and my favorite Friends to Lovers book that I've read is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This song matches this book so well. I feel like there's been a glitch and now I'm stuck to you like a stitch. Feels so Alex and Poppy because they're friends, but they're so magnetically stuck to each other. And then they have this parting, which is sort of like their glitch. And this book is tracking their reunion, but we get flashbacks to all of their old vacations and stuff. It's basically about Alex and Poppy, who are best friends, but they go on a vacation together every single year, but then something happens and we don't know throughout most of the book what has happened, and they like aren't speaking and they aren't seeing each other. So they go on one last vacation together. We follow them through that vacation, but we also get flashbacks to all their other vacations. So you're sort of putting the pieces together of what their relationship has looked like and what's going on, but they're so like magnetically connected to each other and they understand each other so well that that visual of like being attached to somebody with a stitch feels so like them. Next, would've, could've, should've. I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police on John Mayer. This song is super painful. It's about an emotionally abusive, inappropriate relationship. That is why I'm going to recommend In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, which is a memoir about the author's time in an abusive queer relationship. And she dives into a lot of the tropes and stories that we leave out when talking about queer people and how it's important to talk about the bad as well as the good. It's a book that is just so haunting because she quite literally uses the tropes of a haunted house, of a horror novel, to explain this relationship. It's incredible. It's one of the most interesting and in-depth portrayals of an abusive relationship I've ever seen. This song is also just sort of a really raw, deep dive into a relationship that was inappropriate that like has permanently scarred Taylor. Okay, the last one, Dear Reader. Dear Reader is this song that's sort of all about being aware of your surroundings and like relying on yourself and this idea of self-actualization, making your own decisions and stuff like that. The idea of that first line, like if you think you might be in a trap, you're already in one, that feels so much to me like The Awakening by Kate Chopin. This is a book about a woman who's in a marriage that she is just not happy in, and she has these children, but she just feels like she has no agency, no autonomy. It's a book all about early feminism and the idea that when women are denied agency, they are denied any life that's worth living. And so it's all about how this woman takes matters into her own hands in an incredibly dark way, but she does it because she recognizes the trap that has been set by the patriarchy that she has been born into and forced into that she never agreed to enter. And it's a really incredibly written book. It's a classic. It really does sort of feel like a message to the readers, specifically to the female readers, letting them know that they should be aware of all of the things that are working against them so that they can fight back against those things, if that makes any kind of sense. That's all the tracks on Midnight's 3 a.m. edition, as told by me, Sally Timms. I've been a Swiftie since as long as I can remember, and also I read a lot. And if you want to see me read more, you can subscribe. Comment down below if you have any books that you think match up with Midnight's. If you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm right, let me know. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and if you're streaming Midnight's for the 50th time already, drink your water, take your meds, because if you're watching this video, you need them. Make an appointment with your therapist if you haven't in a while. The best way to support me is to join my Patreon, where we do 2 different book clubs every single month. We have an amazing Discord community, we do lots of extra live streams, and it's all only $2 a month. That will be linked down below in the description. My Instagram, TikTok, Goodreads, etc. will all be linked down below in the description as well. I'm gonna go listen to Midnights, in case you haven't heard it today. I love you. Bye.